I was hoping for a shark exorcist. Yes, that movie does exist, and no, I don't know why, and yes, I'll probably cover it at some point. I think I may need a new phrase. Scraping the bottom of the barrel isn't going to cut it anymore. At this rate, we're already through the bottom of the barrel and most of the way to the Earth's core. I've offhandedly mentioned Shark Exorcist before in this series, but at that point I hadn't actually watched it myself, relying instead on the video by I Hate Everything. But for some reason, I recently decided to sit through the entire thing. Sitting at a whopping 1.3 out of 10 on IMDb, it is by some distance the lowest rated film I've ever watched. And let me address that right now. This isn't some misunderstood hidden gem. That rating is entirely justified. Shark Exorcist is absolutely horrendous. It's a disjointed mess, with a main plot, if you can even call it that, being resolved in about 50 minutes, and that's with a lot of padding as is, forcing the movie to limp to a 70-minute runtime with a glacial mid-credit scene that is one of, honestly, the most bafflingly pointless things I've ever witnessed. We've got side plots that have no relevance to the story, we have one of the most uncomfortably creepy scenes in any movie ever made, and so much heavy-breathing perv cam over women writhing on the ground. Shark Exorcist is sleazy, unpleasant, embarrassing nonsense, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thankfully, despite its many problems, Shark Exorcist manages to ride that line of entertainingly bad all the way to freedom. Despite watching a few other channels cover the movie, I feel like there's still a good amount of comedic potential to be squeezed out of it. Here's a deeper dive into the insanity that is Shark Exorcist. Wow, that's a great start, isn't it? The opening sees a nun walking through a graveyard to an expanse of water in what looks like some sort of park, ranting about wanting vengeance for something that's never really explained. Then, some rando woman starts accusing her of something, before the nun stabs her, in full view of these people doing their daily commute in the background. This one stab wound immediately covers her entire upper body in blood, including her face, which is especially impressive considering this is a complete lack of stab wound. In fact, there isn't even a mark on her shirt. Amazing.
Lord Satan, accept my sacrifice! Send me an avenger!
I mean, I'd accept my sacrifice, it's one of Creed's best songs. So there's our first look at today's crap CGI shark. Honestly, it's not the worst I've ever seen, but the issue is that we only get like 3 different shots of it repeated throughout the entire movie. They couldn't stump up the cash to get some different animations for it. Certainly no animations of it actually attacking someone, so you'll have to use your imagination. Honestly, it's a bit of an oversight in a shark movie. After this astoundingly awful title card, we get a list of people to hold accountable for this, with some aquarium footage in the background. 1 year later, I mean from the nun business, not the aquarium visit, and these girls are going to the lake. I won't bother with names because only one of them is important, and frankly it got quite difficult to tell them apart. As we tick women stripping down to their bikinis off our shark movie checklist, this girl begins getting attacked by a demon shark thing. Well, at least I think that's what's happening. She starts miming being attacked, despite the fact that we keep coming back to the shark that's just swimming about in deep water. There's no fin above the water, despite it being only waist deep here. Her friends go down to help, and we see the brutal results of this savage attack. It looks like someone spilled ketchup on her. She has blood on her chin for no reason, and we get to see the worst attempt at a shark bite in the history of cinema. Let me just freeze on that. Remember, she's been bitten by what looks like a great white shark. No wound, just a tiny amount of blood. This is utterly embarrassing. Shockingly, she manages to make a full recovery from this life-threatening paper cut, as we're shown some hospital footage that they definitely got permits for and didn't just carry a camera around that was recording. Obviously, an incident as horrific as this would make it to the local news, as we get a Birdemic level news report. Incidentally, the reporter here is Donald Farmer, the pervert and possible shark botherer that made this movie. Still shaken by their friend's potentially life-altering experience, the other 2 girls unwind by going to a shark-themed arcade. Isn't that a bit insensitive? Anyway, things are only going to get weirder from here as we cut to irrelevant side plot number 2, Nancy Chase and Ghost Whackers. Old Nancy has been played by Ronnie Jonah, a name I recognised during the opening credits, meaning that I spent the next few minutes racking my brains for what other terrible movies she's been in, before giving up and googling it. Turns out the reason that I recognise that name is that she used to be a wrestler, trained by Al Snow and spending a few years in OVW, WWE's developmental territory at the time. Here she is teaming with future WrestleMania main eventer and world champion Mike the Miz Mizan in Inglorious 240p. Anyway, she's apparently moved on from the squared circle in the past 10 years, starting a career in acting, and judging by the fact that she's in a film called Shark Exorcist, I can probably guess it's going not that well. So, Ghost Whackers is seemingly an amalgam of all those most haunted and ghost hunter type shows, and they're here to investigate the recent spate of shark attacks. Which is pretty weird, because up to this point there hasn't really been any sort of allusion to the shark being paranormal by the characters, although I guess it is pretty strange to be having shark attacks at a lake. Besides that though, there's a hell of a lot more to unpack in this scene. Firstly, what's with the hand gestures? It looks like you're taking the piss out of your own show. Secondly, we're having that birdemic issue of barely being able to hear her over the wind, which is not helped by what you could generously call a soundtrack in the background.
Hello, I'm Nancy Chase, and welcome to another episode of Ghost Whackers, where we explore the paranormal, the supernatural, and the unexplained.
Thirdly, could we not do another take where she didn't get her hair blown into her face? No? Okay. Fourthly, what was that? We've gone from Nancy having her back to the water and the camera guy in front of the car park to having them instantly switch places with no explanation. And it gets better. She immediately tops that party trick by turning away from her camera and continues talking to the actual movie camera instead. What? Imagine that in one of these paranormal investigation shows. The medium just turns away from the camera and starts talking to a wall instead, explaining what's happening. Amazing. So Nancy begins trying to summon the demon shark, as you do, before we get the first of not one, not two, not three, but 4 scenes of a woman writhing on the ground. I feel like I'm on some sort of list for watching this movie now. Moving swiftly on, Shark Bite Girl is out of the hospital now, and we get the best line of the movie.
That's the thing about almost dying, Emily. It is a real buzzkill.
She also shows off the wound from the shark attack, which despite the bandage being covered in blood, is completely gone. No scar, nothing. After that she runs into this SUV, and oh my god, it's Scott Stapp from Creed. I must have summoned him by the early reference. So now I must welcome him to the movie with arms wide open. It doesn't last long, however, as they go to the lake and get sharked. Once again, without any blood or an actual shark attack animation, but you know, what can you expect from this? If you wanted more of this Stapp-alike, have no fear, because he's immediately back, now in priest form. This is the brother of the other one, as is lazily explained in old man voice from this letter, presumably sent from the church's Department of Exposition.
My dear Father Michael, it is with a heavy heart that I must inform you of the death of your brother. The circumstances of his death are still a mystery, but an investigation is underway.
He's off to investigate his brother's death now, so our plot's finally starting to turn up at least. Back on Ghost Whackers, and Nancy still doesn't know where her camera is. She gets interrupted by a woman from a ghost debunker program, and for some reason Nancy's cameraman continues to record this. They argue, but don't ask me what was said, it's pretty difficult to make out over the wind and the irritating twinkling noise for the soundtrack.
I'm Brianna Bennett from Ghost Fakers, and I've been on these shark attacks since they first started, and that's just what they are, shark attacks. No ghosts and no demons. She's just trying to terrify people for the sake of ratings.
Anyway.
But it's entirely irrelevant to the movie anyway, so who cares? Next we get a scene of these women summoning a woman in a graveyard. This is never explained, despite taking up 5 of the movie's 70-minute runtime, and never has any relevance on anything else in the movie apart from it containing, surprise surprise, 2 writhing women. Moving on. If you thought that the past 25 minutes of this movie have been creepy, weird and uncomfortable, then hoo boy, you better prepare yourself for this next bit. This woman is in a children's playground, laughing insanely and playing with some toy sharks. Now, the general perception here is that she's either playing a character with some sort of mental disability, or she's supposed to be playing a child. Frankly, it's unclear, and to be fair, either of those options make the next few scenes really, really wrong. She meets Shark Girl, and we get this corker of an exchange.
Hi, I see you here. Wanna play?
I like your sharks.
Me too, sharks are so cool. No, please don't eat me! No, I'll meet you right now. What are the good parts?
So what do you like about sharks?
Everything, really.
I think they're beautiful. Perfect creatures.
So what do you like to do?
Allie,
So what do you like to do, Allie?
I like to get wet.
So, while you try desperately to pretend that you never saw that, they've gone to a swimming pool. Luckily, they both inexplicably have swimwear on underneath their clothes. I mean, come on! Anyway, Shark Girl wakes up and it was a dream or whatever, who knows. Oh joy, Ghost Whackers is back. Writhing, 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 next scene. Shark Girl meets random swimmer, later shark attack, next scene. So, Nancy's now a zombie, I guess, and she attacks the debunker lady from earlier when she tries to confront her again. Wow, that is terrible. The debunker somehow manages to fall backwards to the side of where she was stood before Nancy vomits on her for some reason. You don't get time to question it. Because we need to pay attention to the next full minute and 20 seconds of this bloke jogging. He finds the dead swimmer, also vomits, but manages to get in another immensely creepy line.
Oh god. She's still kinda hot. I'd still do her. Oh.
This may actually be the worst thing that was ever made. Anyway, we're just over halfway through. Oh god, we're only halfway through. So anyway, it's time to introduce 4 new characters, obviously. 3 women to get into bikinis and get eaten. Maybe we'll have time for a good bit of writhing too if we're okay, but you know. But we also get our first meeting with what is probably the most well-established character in the movie. Heavy breathing camera guy. No, not this one, the actual camera guy filming Shark Exorcist. It starts about 37 minutes in and is most noticeable, shockingly, when there is a scene of half-naked women on screen.
Is this a swimming test? Something like that. Do you know where we...
Maybe he's just struggling to hold the camera with one hand. Anyway, they get into ankle-deep water and then they get eaten. The priest and the brunette girl from the start decide to team up and investigate the shark incident, despite the fact that the priest's audio is totally out of sync. So, naturally, what is the first port of call to look into shark attacks? A fun fair. Obviously. I mean, water, sharks, it's a myth there. They love the carnival. Good lord. Girl number 3 from the start is here, and we get an excruciatingly long montage of her pointing to things while stood next to her boyfriend while the shark girl stalks them. The montage ends with the boyfriend pulling out the classic breakup manoeuvre of the palm to the face. He's probably just realised that he should get out of the movie while he still could. Oh, and Shark Girl has shark teeth now, because of course she does. She attacks the boyfriend, well, ex-boyfriend I guess, before Priestman interrupted by misquoting The Exorcist.
Demon, the power of Christ commands you!
Jesus, they really can't get anything right, can they? So finally, we actually get to the shark exorcism, with Shark Girl now tied up.
Demon, be gone!
We're gonna need a bigger cross.
This really is just the worst thing, isn't it? Yeah. Apparently that isn't enough of a rip-off, as we then get the pea soup shot from The Exorcist before the priest decides that the power of Christ compels him to choke a bitch. Wait, what? So she isn't tied up then? She was just stood against this tree holding her hands up in the air for a laugh, was she? She gives the demon to the priest, as demonstrated by this cutting-edge special effect. Well, cutting-edge by 1992 sitcom standards at least.
Uncle Arnie fries them alive with his hex vision.
That's right, Mr. Flibble.
Then, a shark jumps out of space and eats them. Nope, not joking. That actually happens. And that's the end of the main plot as well. That's the big finale. Except it's not, because we've still got 20 minutes left. I wonder how we'll ever fill that. With driving to pad out the time, of course. 2 entire minutes. Wait, this needs a different song over it. Yeah, there we go, that's better. In a never-ending effort to drag this film kicking and screaming to feature length, we get another 2 minutes of this lady walking and then stripping down to a bikini, while some pervert watches her. Well, 2 actually, the asthmatic camera guy's back in full effect as well. The pervert comes to take some creep shots of her before painstakingly swiping through them all while still stood next to her. He leaves and she stands up and screams in a really weird way. The note from the opening turns up again to somehow stab her despite her standing in a completely different area. Look, nowhere near the water, while the nun is standing ankle deep. Guess she's got some Inspector Gadget arms stashed in her habit or something. The nun's victim from the opening then re-emerges from the water to awkwardly tackle her, and we get a few more of the same shots of the shark, and we cut away to never discuss these characters again. Oh wait, these two are still alive. Okay, maybe not then. And that's it. That's the end. Yet there's still another 10 minutes left. Oh god, it's not over still, is it? Sadly not, but trust me, you'll really wish that it was. So while I discuss this section, I will play it in full in the background, albeit sped up, just to give the context of what you're going to see here. From the end of this section of credits to when they pick it back up is 7 entire minutes. Now 7 minutes of what, you may ask? Good bloody question. 7 minutes of this girl walking around an aquarium, going to a gift shop, methodically sorting through stuffed toy sharks, and nothing else. This is accompanied by no dialogue whatsoever, and only the finest of Kevin MacLeod's horror category. The payoff to this mind-numbing torture is the girl rubbing her face with the plastic shark for a bit before she vomits and a red filter appears. No, I don't know either. I would like to reiterate, this is a real movie that exists. I went outside, entered a branch of HMV, and exchanged money for this DVD. I would say it's not worth the case it's starred in, but frankly that's not great either. Look, they capitalised the Y in By Donald Farmer. Amazing, even the box is a cock-up. Tragically, we're still not done yet. Some more credits first. Ha, called it. Anyway, not satisfied with the mid-credit scene that is literally a tenth of the runtime, we have a post-credit scene as well. How lucky are we? Nancy stands up and vomits. That's it. Why? Because the world is a dark place full of pain and suffering, that's why. But at least Shark Exorcist is finished. As I said in the intro, when I watched this for the first time, I actually enjoyed it. I spent most of the runtime laughing at the absurdity I was seeing on the screen. But going back to it again for the sake of reviewing it was just painful. It is awful, and I don't think I can stress that enough. This is objectively the worst movie I have ever seen. The only thing that can slightly approach it are Neil Breen's films, but while they are also made by a creepy weirdo, they have a lot more charm to them than Shark Exorcist does. The mid-credit scene is the most confusing thing I think I have ever experienced, and the first minute or two of it was filled with laughter at our bewilderment at what was happening on screen. It was magical, but then unfortunately it continues for another 5 minutes where nothing happened and there was no payoff. Honestly, it barely even qualifies as an actual movie, so I'm not sure if I can recommend it despite how funny it can be. But at the time of recording, the entire thing is available on YouTube, so I guess feel free to try it. Preferably if you can convince someone who has never heard of it before to watch it with you. I promise their reactions will be far more entertaining than what's on the screen. Although they will probably think you're some sort of perverse weirdo. Actually, yeah, maybe watch it on your own instead.